My wife and I love your videos. Keep up the great work. We've been talking lately about my injuries and how they might affect me long term. How am I supposed to handle paying for ongoing treatment? What if I can't work ever again? What do I need to do now to make sure that I'm covered for what comes later?
I want to be clear. What follows is legal information. It is not legal advice. Everybody's circumstances are different. This is why we constantly tell you call an attorney and talk to an attorney. We want to make sure that your unique circumstances are adequately represented and you aren't just taking a generalized response and deciding that that will apply to your situation when it doesn't. So first of all, thank you for the kind words. We do appreciate it. It does mean a lot, especially to those of us who sit in an office every day grinding out paperwork, trying to make sure that we have good results for the community. It means a lot to know that what we're doing matters and that we have people that are grateful for it, because I have given people ginormous checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars and they were still upset. So it's nice to know that, there are people that appreciate the work. It really does. Outside of that, what do you do about ongoing treatment? Well, that's going to depend on where we're at in the case, right? Are we past the 2-year statute of limitations to file in Iowa? Is the case already filed and ongoing? Where we're at completely changes what we do in that. But I'll give you a common scenario. Let's say we have the, person who has not yet filed, right? But they were in a crash, maybe it was a year ago. Everybody lives in Iowa, right? So statute of limitations hasn't passed. We still got a year to file. They come to us, they tell us, okay, we've got ongoing problems. We don't know how long we're going to need medical treatment, medical care. This is a category of damages, okay? Future medical costs, future medical expenses. This is something that we can hire an expert to go in, if it makes sense, to go in and evaluate you, evaluate what percentage is permanently disabled, evaluate whether you're going to be able to go back to work, what your quality of life is going to look like, and give us some financial figures based on that, and what would be a fair payout, right? Because let's say you're in your 30s and you lost a leg, and you worked a factory job. Now you can't work that job. You're making 50, 60K a year, something reasonable like that, right? And you're sitting there going, I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. I haven't worked in over a year. I've been sitting here. The bills are piling up. There's surgery, but it's not scheduled right away. They want to wait another year while I do some physical therapy, and we wait for this portion to heal after the initial surgery. This is all stuff that can be handled within the context of a lawsuit and can be compensated properly within the context of a lawsuit. If you don't file a lawsuit on this and you expect your insurance company to just keep paying out, they won't. They won't. They're going to try and get you to settle so that you sign that little release that says it's all on me from here on out forever. And if they get that signature, now it's up to you to pay your health insurance deductibles, basically, to deal with all your medical expenses on your own. And that's if you have health insurance, which isn't a given anymore. I can't stress enough how important it is in these scenarios to talk to an attorney and to figure out what your options are, to play the chess game correctly with the insurance company and not get stuck. More than anything, I don't want to see people that could have called, that could have recovered, that could have had a better quality of life, stuck in pain, homeless maybe, but definitely in pain and unable to pay for the things they need to. That's a crappy way to live life. It's a crappy way to go through life. And that's not what we want for the community. And it's angering that that's even a possibility because of insurance and how they pay out. But it's a real one, and we've seen it. And we don't want to see more of those cases. That's why we're making these videos. We want to make sure that you're protected. And unlike the companies that are spending billions to say, like a good neighbor, we rely on word of mouth. We rely on referrals. We rely on good reviews from people saying, yes, you did a good job. Yes, you can be trusted.
I mean, it seems like a constant theme throughout a lot of this is talk to a lawyer. I mean, the initial consultation is free, so you're really out nothing. You can decide to go with them or not. And if they take your case, it's in our firm's case anyway, it's a contingency fee. So you're not out anything if you lose. But there are still those who try and handle this on their own. Either they underestimate how much work there is, or they underestimate how much they're entitled to, and so they think they can work through it. And that's the case that one of the people asking a question on a recent video had. I thought I could handle the insurance company on my own, but now I'm feeling completely in over my head. Is it too late to call?
So the answer to that question is going to depend entirely on what stage we're at in the process. Is it within the 2-year statute of limitations that we have in Iowa since the incident occurred? If so, there's probably still time to file a lawsuit. But did you, sign a settlement with the insurance company already? If so, probably not. If you're of competent mind when you sign that document, that's the ball game right there. You've signed off. So it just depends on what stage of litigation we're in.
That's a great point. On a kind of more positive note, shifting gears here, funny because motorcycles. Anywho, shifting gears here. One of our viewers said, I saw you guys at a rally last year, probably the Freedom Rally, because we see so many people there. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the first one. It wasn't. I'm glad to see you making these videos, and it got me wondering something. How does being a biker yourselves help you understand what your clients are going through?
I think that being a biker means that we have the ability to look at the facts of the case with a little bit more expertise. If your bike is skidding out because you're trying to brake, I've been there. We've all had a moment, I think every biker does at some point, where the bike's going to go down, and you have to learn how to deal with that in the context of the situation. But being somebody who rides, you take it a little bit more serious. You also understand that there are circumstances that in a car wouldn't be affecting you, but on a bike absolutely will. I've had cases where people just blew a ton of grass onto the road. For a car, that's not gonna, you got four wheels, you're probably fine. For a bike, that's basically ice. You're going down if you hit a thick patch of sand, gravel, grass, like any of that debris can be enough for two wheels. And that's something that we understand intimately. I've had a moment where I was riding with Pete actually, and we were on, going 50 on a highway, and it just turned into gravel because Iowa. We're sitting there like, uh-oh. So, what do you do? And you can't hit the brake. You're going to go down immediately. So we're just like coasting, praying there isn't a turn, like a sharp turn ahead. And we were fine in the end. Point is, we have that experience. We've been in your shoes. We've ridden the same roads you've ridden. We know what the community should be expecting. And that makes a huge difference, in my opinion, having that personal touch and understanding intimately what the community is about.
I would assume that makes painting a picture for the jury of what it's like when you're in your opening statements or your closing statements a lot easier if you vividly have been there yourself. And I know that Pete has mentioned before that he's gone down. He knows that the terror of being in a motorcycle crash.
What does it feel like to be in a crash since you've been in one?
It's horrifying. Things happen really fast and in slow motion all at once. It's just really horrifying.
I've never asked you because, frankly, you taught me a lot about riding, and I don't want to know if you've gone down.
I'll put it this way. The first time my bike ever went down was the second time I think I ever rode it, because stupidly, I got all the way up, and I'm brand new to this. I'm just getting into it. And I make it all the way up to the first stop sign, and I'm like, all right, like, we're here, we got everything. I didn't kick my legs out. I was just like, yeah, like, we're stable, we're fine. And it just fell right down. Dumb, okay, like, right, it's a bike. It doesn't just sit there.
Yeah.
You got to stabilize it. So yeah, sometimes you have some whoopsie moments like that too. As far as being a biker goes, we like to be there for all of it. We've been to biker funerals. We've watched what happens when people get hit, and we've been there to talk to their loved ones and make sure that they know that we're a part of the community and we're here to help. And I think that's a critical component of this, is actually being part of the community and experiencing the grief, experiencing all of the different aspects of it emotionally, so that you're tied into all of the community pieces, instead of just trying to be, again, a corporation apart that's just dispassionately dealing with things. No, we're in here. We're down in the mud with all of you, and we're here to help.
That's a really, really good point. One of the things that I love about riding, I'm a new rider. I just started last season. I absolutely love it. They talk about the freedom of the road and how people don't understand if you've never ridden. I get it now. I really do. But I think I've been really thinking about why that is. And I think part of it is the control. You're in complete control of yourself, and being fully aware, acutely aware that you're not in control of everybody around you. So you have to be hyper vigilant. You can't afford to get distracted. You're looking left, you're looking right. It's actually made me personally a better driver in a four-wheeled vehicle, just because I've been able to ride a motorcycle. But that feeling of control, I think, is something that probably resonates with most riders, is because if you go down and it is your fault because of something you did or didn't do, like you not putting your feet out, right? It's on you, right? This comment, I thought, fits this very, very well. He said, I don't need someone to take over my life. I just need help making sure that I'm treated fairly. If I hired you guys, how do you make sure that I stay involved?
Yeah, we're not trying to assume control of your life. We couldn't if we wanted, and we definitely don't want to. We want to make sure that you have the best possible outcome, and we will guide you there. And that is what we're there as. Think of it as like a tour guide, but through the worst part of your life. A lawsuit is a partnership. And a lot of people don't understand that when they hire us. And it's something that we have to make clear, because a lot of people think, okay, well, I went to the doctor, so now I'll get better. Or I went to see an attorney, so now they're going to take care of everything and I'm just going to sit here. And that's not how it works. I think anybody that's ever done physical therapy of any kind understands that you go in and you're ready to put the work in. If you want to get better at something, including your physical health, you have to put the work in. A lawsuit is no different. When you talk to us, we're going to give you some homework after that first meeting that needs to be done because it's stuff that only you know and has to be disclosed to the other party. And we go through the discovery process, which is going to be a scenario in the middle of the lawsuit that basically says we're collecting information back and forth between the parties. You're going to get a list of questions that are going to need to get answered. And we're going to advise you and we're going to help you as best we can. But ultimately, it's going to be work that you have to do to move forward. So the point of a lawsuit is not that you hand it over to somebody and you go,
okay, you're going to do everything.
We're not able to do everything. It's a partnership. Ultimately, you are the plaintiff that's bringing the suit. We are advising on how that suit should be brought. We're making sure that it's done correctly. And that's, I think, what the person in the comments is really trying to get at.
It's their story and you can't tell it if you don't know it. And so it's not just that you want their involvement, but in order for it to be a successful lawsuit, you need it. Is that accurate?
Correct. And we've also seen people tank their own lawsuits, and that's possible. So that's why, when we work with somebody, it's a risk that we're assuming as well. We're taking on a financial burden every time we take on a client, and that's a risk that we have to do. So we have people that we've turned away because they aren't in a position where they're going to do or help themselves or us, and they're too high risk because they're not willing to actually work with you. They just want to say, okay, you get a third and deal with it, and I'll see you in a year or two whenever you give me the money. That doesn't work. It's an active process. People that are like, I can't go to my job anymore because I'm injured. Well, you're still going to have some work you need to do on your front. You're still going to need to go to the doctor appointments. You're still going to need to talk to us and communicate with us clearly throughout the course of that lawsuit. The good news is, if you do that, the outcome gets so much better, so much faster than you'd think. I believe at one point we were talking about statistically, what's the improvement in a case by hiring an attorney, because we do take 1/3, right? If you do some basic math, if we're taking 1/3, but we're increasing the value on average by over 4 times the amount, you're coming out ahead.
And that actually brings us to the end of this round of questions. Now, we do encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already, leave a like, but most importantly, leave us a comment. If there's something that we touched on that you'd like to know a little bit more about, or if you have questions of your own, all hypothetically speaking, we're happy to tackle them. And in the meantime, if you need help after an accident, make sure you go to thebikerlawyers.com and reach out. Our team is excellent at what they do, and they are more than willing to help you and listen to you. So if you're injured, ride with us.